so tell me about your novel. Just natural, like we were just talking.
Okay. So my vision for it is just to have these guys basically one-up each other. I can't do this. I can't do it.
You were telling me about this novel. There was like evil.
Yeah. Well, I've had this novel in my head for about, I guess, 6 or 7 years now, and I've slowly kind of patchwork quilted it together.
Right.
You know, at various times. I hadn't thought about it for the last 3 years, but it came back to me recently. Actually, when I was here reading another book, and just another part of it, and just reawakened the whole storyline. And I was tired of seeing kind of the typical hero-villain relationship where a character starts off in a milieu and then he actually ascends to become a hero and he slays this villain who has been a god throughout the whole thing. I wanted to write two real characters who are on the same level and just they get ahead of each other, whether that be through the environment or kind of their own guile and wit. They outsmart each other, and then eventually culminates in the struggle towards the end. Or maybe not. Maybe that wouldn't be satisfying. You know, you don't really know. You actually do have a real map for it, and you try to control your characters. I don't want to let them slip away, but I haven't worked out, you know, what the ending's going to be. You know, but you have definite relationships, and fantasy's often not grounded in reality. So I want to do my best to tell kind of a reality-based story, but kind of through that.
Are we talking elves and orcs and stuff?
I haven't figured that out. I was gonna make it. In many ways, they say if you have the tone right and you don't have all the facts, then the story. I mean, to me, if you got the tone right, it can be truer than if you had all the facts just lined up.
So
and I got the tone. I got the flavor for it. Well, life doesn't all add up. I mean, I think you get the flavor for a lot of things. You may not know the facts. I mean, I don't know factually like how to make electricity work and all these things, but life kind of goes, and you get that semblance of reality. So for this one, yeah, I haven't figured out like the entire universe, what it's going to look like. It's a human story, though. I mean, it has to be.
A what?
A human story. And it's gonna have to be. But I mean, it's one of many. I have some stories on mental illness I want to write. I want to write like a short story collection, based on mental illness and just kind of the group of guys that I saw, and just as coworkers. I mean, a lot of them were characters, you know. So,
are you a story guy or a stylist?
I like both. Like I like to, when I read lines, I like to kind of hover and linger over the style, you know, and appreciate it when it's there. But if the story is asking you, you know, to take too many leaps, you know, that can definitely stick out too. So I think it's the whole work. You know, you got to be a draftsman. You got to master the basics and get to the fundamentals, and it's how they all intertwine, like to make the strengths and weaknesses of a story.
Because I once I read this book recently, or two of them, by John McGarren. Because well, they were on NPR, so I thought, well, they must be good books, right? No. This guy, he was all style, no substance.
Okay.
And his books were boring and depressing. Go.
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of things about something. Like, you can appreciate what works. I mean, as Americans, we're kind of finely tuned to pick things apart and figure out what is wrong with this. You know, what we were learning in my class, at least, and I guess I'll speak from that, is like, you can have a book succeed amazingly in one aspect and fail just as amazingly in another. You know, and sometimes, you know, that just becomes a complicated part. As the writer, it's hard to get all those things right. Even as an artist, you're like, okay, well, they have good, you know, depth perception, they have good sense of perspective, you know, but I don't like the realism or the pointillism of the paintings. I don't like, you know, this aspect, or how they use light and color, you know, or the contours, you know, and maybe they're just better craftsmen in certain senses. I think if anyone could make like a story holistically, like everything great, they would. You know, some people, they're better at certain things. You know, so that's why it's important to sharpen all the little tools you have in your toolbox.